Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, dear organizers of the 5th AgriBusiness Forum. Thank you very much for the invitation and for honoring me to be here with you. Dear Mr. Kalarrytis, today I would like to talk about an issue that it is the great obstacle in realizing circular economy policies, the so-called greenwashing. Greenwashing is a practice according to which you are stating falsely that your product is environmental friendly, or you are adopting illegal practices for waste management. When it comes to our company, we have three pillars that we work on. We are specialized in the methods of evaluating of our natural resources, of the digital applications for the industrial symbiosis, which will be the main issue that we are going to talk about. And last but not least, the financial products for the banking sector. I am trying to talk about greenwashing on various levels, and this practice has a lot of applications. Nevertheless, I'm going to talk about waste residue, plastic waste. I apologize. Is there any technical issue?
Πολύ ωραία. Λοιπόν,
Okay, we will start by mapping this issue, by trying to understand what greenwashing is, where does it come from, its flows, and the legislation around the world. This is the cost of linear economy, which means that we have two types of environmental costs, and we can use data from the World Bank to evaluate them in money. First of all, the depletion of natural resources, mainly the petroleum, and you know that petrochemicals are more of the waste, and of course the ecosystem's pollutions. We are not talking about the CO2 emissions, we're talking about microplastics when they are absorbed by the water tanks. All this cost reaches $6.8 trillion, which is 8.1% of the world GDP. Here you can see the tragedy of the commons. Imagine that plastic waste goes to the oceans and then in the international waters. The tragedy of the water commons was a concept introduced by the work of Garrett Harding in the Science magazine, the Science journal. Nevertheless, the phenomenon was described by Thucydides and by Aristotle in his Politics in the second book. There is a new country in the size of Mexico, if you can see, and it is one of the 6 new plastic countries around the globe. Here you can see a report by Interpol trying to learn more about where the global plastic waste goes and which countries have adopted bad practices and allow the plastics to be absorbed by the oceans. You can see that there is a range from 1 to 3 million of plastic waste from China go to the oceans. Since the beginning of the plastic use, since the 1950s, around 400 million tons of plastic waste have been accumulated on the earth that then end up through the food chain in our table, in our meals. A very important point is the Basel Convention in 1989, which tries to talk about the transboundary plastics pollution. It puts emphasis on the marine resources protection, in the prevention of greenwashing, and of course in adopting methods for life cycle standards analysis in order to be taken into consideration in the whole life cycle of the product. And of course, this leads us to another very important issue, the assessment of the environmental cost, which are the methods that we use in order to measure and assess it, and how we are going to incorporate it in the price, because we have heard what is happening with the competition of other countries that use other practices, unethical practices. So, in detail, when we try to understand which is the difference between linear and circular economy, and coming from econometrics, I would like to say that circular economy means that I can keep producing the same values to have the same level of well-being, but with less use of virgin material, virgin raw material. This is the so-called dematerialization, which means that the value per mass is very high, which means that sometimes it is referred to as degrowth. So when it comes to the life cycle analysis, we try to see the 5 stages of the life cycle. First of all, which is the environmental cost of extracting raw materials, then which is the environmental cost of turning them into the product of the processing, which is the cost of delivering them, which is the cost for using it to gain economic utility, and last but not least, what is happening at the end of the life cycle. This incorporates the extended producer's responsibility. A lot of people focus only on a stage of the life cycle in order to show to do the so-called greenwashing. Here you can see a very important legislation, a recommendation at the end of 2021, according to which the product environmental footprint will be a method, an umbrella method for the various methods of the life cycle analysis. It includes a lot of indices, and it does not allow us to focus only on the CO2 emissions. We have new variables such as ecotoxicology, the use of waste resources, the use of land resources, a lot of different parameters, a lot of different variables, which means that every company should have 75 different values in order to assess their environmental footprint. Here you can see that apart from the economic cost, we want to introduce the ecosystems pollution and the resource depletion cost. And if it will be incorporated in the price, we can understand that the producers and the consumers know how much this product has costed, not only when it comes to economic terms, but also in natural resources terms. Let's see some solutions that we have implemented for the traceability and the circular economy. Here you can see the industrial cohabitation, symbiosis. We start from a mechanical sorting, then the waste will go to a recycling factory, and then as in the post-consumer or post-industrial resin will be ready to be reused for other uses. The last directive of the European Union is very important concerning the post-consumer resins that asks for increased traceability. Now, we have to see what is happening when we have a lot of stakeholders in the market and a lot of transactions and a lot of categories, of course, from each family of plastic waste. We have 7 main families, and each of them has maybe 10 sub-families. So you can understand that we have 70 or 100 categories. Here, this is the Symbiotica tool that allows us in plastic resin to understand the content in chlorine, which is something negative, and we also use some other variables, technological innovation, the 5-year average, and this profile can also be personalized and allows us to see the trends of the market. The 3 criteria, the 3 objectives are to achieve the highest commercial value, the lowest environmental impact, and with the maximum transparency. We analyze three levels. We analyze on a qualitative level, which is the plastic waste per family and per category. We analyze the prices, what is happening with the recycled resin prices, and last but not least, what is happening in the environmental assessment level for all the 5 stages of the life cycle. Here you can see a screen print from a real case study of a large food industry that we wanted to see the product environmental footprint of its industrial resin, plastic packaging that were not marketable, and they have to be recycled in order to contain liquids. Here you can see their assessment for all 5 stages of the life cycle, as well as where the company is compared to its competitors. So they can do a supplier's evaluation, who is the best supplier, who is the most effective supplier, and to achieve the best possible supply, not only on economic but also on environmental terms. And here you can say that if one has such a tool and is traceable, one can optimize and see that part of this resin could be supplied in the best possible quality, one in a medium quality and one in a worse quality, because one could supply low quality resin because you cannot find your best possible supplier and you have to opt for someone else. This is a real-time market that has got a very high potential. And all this information, all those mathematical models and the qualitative analysis is happening because we are going to reach a level that the consumer will use a mobile phone, will be able to scan a QR code, the product that they are buying, and based on that they can see the environmental footprint of the plastic packaging of that product and then to decide if they want to buy it or not. You understand that it could have huge effects for a company, not only for the marketing, but also for the brand and for the value of its share if it is not environmental friendly. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about the ecological banking paradigm shift. Right now, banks want to lead to control a lot of capitals to the circular economy, but they don't know what to measure. And of course, greenwashing makes things even worse. We can say that when it comes to the Basel Convention, the one about banking regulatory framework and about the decisions of the European Banking Authority, according to which from January 1st, 2022, there is the so-called green asset ratio established, which means that this green asset ratio comes from the comparison with the total assets. And in order to achieve a high credit rating, this bank would assess every possible investment, would be able to see which are the suppliers of the person asking for the loan, and then they would be able to assess it and make sure that the fundings that they give would comply with the GAR requirements. So, apart from the traceability of the plastic packaging, there is also a silo effect, if you wish.
Στην εφοδιαστική αλυσίδα που είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό κομμάτι.
So last but not least, allow me to say that especially when it comes to the regenerative agriculture, we will have the first applications. We had the chance to receive funding from the European Commission about a research program, and by that will last rather for 36 months with a total budget of more than 2 million euros. We have 10 countries participating, all the South European Mediterranean countries, Spain, Italy, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Portugal, and we have taken up the econometrical analysis of those farms, of the regenerative farms, and we are trying to see the structural change econometrics. Let's say that from traditional practices, which will be the effects to the revenues of the farmers, which, if the relationships of the members of the family will change, and we are going also to see the farm-to-fork product environmental footprint, and last but not least, we will have the first pilot for making a first financing tool that will be tailored for the microfunding for regenerative agriculture small farms. Thank you very much for your attention. I am at your disposal for any kind of question or remark.